Let's dive in. May energy forecast coming right up. You know, let's just like take a moment to acknowledge everything that's been going on over these last few months. If you have felt that there has been a lot of energy stirred up, you're not alone. There are so many people feeling and experiencing that as well. And I just really want to acknowledge that for a minute, because I think we can always be so good at, putting on a strong face and acting like everything's fine. And, we've received so much programming around the law of attraction of like, don't think about the bad things, don't focus on the bad things because we don't want to manifest them, right? Like, we don't want to manifest it by thinking about it even more. But I don't believe that's true. I think that it's okay to acknowledge the struggles, the challenges, the difficulties. In fact, we are living in a delusional land and lying to ourselves if we're not willing to acknowledge some of the hardships and the difficulties we've gone through. And from a numerology perspective, I can always see in someone's chart why they're going through the challenges they're going through, right? Like your challenges are not for nothing. Your challenges are an initiation, they are an activation, they are actually preparing you for something. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't suck in the process. Of course they do. Of course they're difficult. Of course it might be hard, right? That is absolutely normal and understandable. However, sometimes taking a step back and looking at your energetic codes from a, higher perspective can help you see why. Why are you going through the things you're going through? And if you can understand the meaning and the purpose behind it, it can sometimes help you make sense of it, right? It can contextualize it. And I'm actually just going to give a shout out to Tara Wild right now. For those of you who know her, somebody tag her in the comments so she can see this. I'm actually just picked up her book. It's called something like Pieces of a Broken Heart. I might be getting the title wrong, but if you could tag her and tag the link to her book in the comments, she talks about how she went through the most unimaginable grief and pain and difficulty. And even in those moments, her soul wanted to find meaning in it. And I think this is so powerful to recognize when we go through hard things, if we can find meaning in it, it can change everything. It can give us a whole new perspective. And so I want you to look at some of the difficulties you might have been going through and thinking of them as initiations, thinking that you are being prepared and forged for something. Now, let's just take a look at April's energy just for a minute to kind of contextualize May. So April was a 3. Right? There is an intensity that comes with a 3. It is this like snowball, law of compound interest energy where what is, growing grows rapidly. Manifestations happen quickly. Creativity can happen very quickly. However, the shadow trait of the 3 is anxiety, worry, overthinking, getting caught up in overworking and overthinking. And so if some struggles were coming up in your life, if you were experiencing some difficulties, it's totally normal if you stressed about it, if you got caught up in the mental looping, if you did that like 3 a.m. wake up where you couldn't stop thinking about it and you needed to shift your energy in some way, shape, or form and didn't know how. That is a shadow trait of the 3. However, as we move into the 7, the 7, as we move into the 4, May is a 4 energy month. 4 is stable, it's grounded, it's very leadership minded. It wants us to find the structures that will support our leadership. Now, what does leadership mean, right? We all get to define it for ourselves. And this is the thing I think is really important to think about is oftentimes when we are looking at definitions of words, we are picking up on narratives behind the words that might not actually relate to the definition. Oftentimes when you picture the term leader, you think of like power over, you think of hierarchy, you think of someone that's got like a name badge that's like you are the leader with a name. And I really want you to step back from that for a second. And I want you to think of who do you look to for counsel and guidance in your life? Who do you respect as someone who, they have wisdom? Not only do they have wisdom, but they have this ability to assess a situation caring about all the people involved. To me, this is that true level of leadership. And it's more of an embodiment than a title. I remember when I worked at government, we distinguished between big L leaders and little L leaders. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this terminology before, but big L leader would be someone with like the name tag, right? Like CEO, leader, manager, whatever. Small L leader would be you, right? I get to lead through my influence, and my influence is my embodiment. It's how I hold my center. It's how I hold my energy. I get to influence every room I walk into. I get to influence every conversation that's had. I get to influence the narratives that I participate in. And this is so important to bear in mind in the month of May. What are the narratives that you choose to embody and participate in? And how do you allow those narratives to influence the type of leader that you are, right? Let yourself take that name, right? Let yourself take that name of small L leader. I keep looking down because I have my charts in front of me. If you guys are wondering if you're watching me on the live stream or the YouTube or whatever. Okay, so where do I want to go to next? Give me a second here. Okay, so the other piece about the 4 energy is it's very grounded. So what that means is it wants grounding. It wants stability. It wants a foundation to stand on that feels stable. So what that means is when things are wobbly in life, or if you feel off balance or shaky or, crumbly in certain areas, those cracks are coming up to be cleared. They're coming up for you to look at them with a level of awareness and be like, ooh, lack of stability here, lack of groundedness here. What do I want to do about that? Is that something that's calling on me to embody a greater level of leadership in that area of my life? Is that calling on me to make some changes and make some shifts? What does that look like? Right. And so I think it's really important to think to yourself, like, how do I call in that level of grounded stability, knowing that if you're not feeling stable, if you're feeling insecure, it's not a problem. It's not a judgment. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's actually an invitation to get curious about what's coming up and what can you do to enhance stability. It's like showing the corners of the room and being aware of which one needs repair. And I think it's really important because sometimes we take it as a problem, right? Like if I'm feeling unstable, then something's wrong with me. And it's like, no, it's not about that at all. It's showing you what's available for you, right? That there is an invitation to access a greater level of stability in this aspect of your life. So if you're noticing that, that's what that invitation is for. The other piece about the 4 energy this month is it really is bringing to mind the concept of servant leadership. And servant leadership is a term that, if you're not familiar with it, might be a bit weird. Like I know the first few times I heard the term servant leadership, I know it comes from a book, but I can't remember the name of the book. If anyone knows, please pop it in the chat. But it's this idea that your leadership is in service of, right? Or in service to. And so it's not about leadership to put yourself on a podium or a platform or a pedestal. It's about leadership to care for your community. It's about leadership to care for those around you, to make a difference, to be in service to something greater than yourself, right? And so really taking a minute to ask yourself, like, what am I in service to? And what are the changes I'm truly desiring to see, to feel, to make, to experience in my life, right? What are those changes? And I think, you'll know because something feels off and your soul can't just accept it, right? There is a discomfort. There is a sense of this isn't right. If you ever feel that feeling, it's not an accident that you feel that way. It's a calling. It's likely embedded in your code. If you're curious, you can always reach out to me and I can take a look at your numerology code. You can reach out to another numerologist and get them to look at your codes and see. You can often see those things that are sticky, that feel uncomfortable in life when you look at them. They're coded in you because You're meant to be a change maker there. You're meant to facilitate something there, right? So it's meant to catch your attention. It truly is. It's meant for you to have that level of awareness around it. So if we're meant to embody leadership, if we're meant to create these like grounded structures for change, the best way we can do that is to develop practices, habits, rituals, and systems, right? This is oftentimes when I think of four, I think of what are the habits, the practices, the rituals, and systems. What are the things I do in as most of an automated way as possible, right? Like the whole idea if a daily walk is important to you, which it is to me, my daily walk is my non-negotiable. Put your running shoes beside the bed. So in the morning when you wake up, you put your shoes on, you go for a walk. It's coded in your day. It's automated. You don't have to think about it. The decision's already been made. Save yourself that mental bandwidth of not having to like redecide that on a daily basis. Just decide it's done. That's what we do. Done, right? So what are the practices, the habits that you would like to code into your life, the systems and the structures to support that level of embodiment with yourself, right? And it might, and you can think of the different categories, right? There might be something related to business. There might be something related to your intuition and your spiritual relationship, health, relationships, family, whatever this is, you'll know. Like, I don't really think it's a great idea to pick all of them at once. That would be a little overwhelming and daunting. But what's the area that you would like to create a little bit of up level, right? To raise that standard in your life just a little bit more. Pick that area, pick one area, comment in the chat, let me know what area you're picking. And then ask yourself, what is a system? What is a practice that I am going to install into my life that will help me embody that level of leadership in that aspect of my life, right? So I gave the example of the walk. If that's something that resonates to you, perhaps it's up leveling in your business and you need to think of what's a system I can install in my business. You guys, I feel like I just changed my life when I discovered this yesterday. I don't know where I've been, late to the party apparently. But I love making reels. However, I find that I go in like fits and spurts, right? Like I'll get super creative and I'll want to make a bunch. And then I'll tell myself, okay, Megan, post one a day over the next however many days I have, right? But then I'll forget and they'll sit in my drafts and I'll forget to post them. You can schedule them. I didn't know this. Within the Instagram app, you can schedule them. You can hit advanced settings, I think it is, and schedule. So yesterday I had a super creative day. I created like 5 reels at once and I just scheduled them to go out one a day for the next 5 days. Mind blown, life forever changed, new system dialed in. Now the new system is every time I feel that like spark of creativity to create things, I am going to install that in. I'm going to create however many I have in me to create and block them off with the schedule so they don't get forgotten in my drafts, right? I feel like this is going to be life-changing. Okay. So where do we want to go to next? Okay. So because of change, now typically I wouldn't necessarily say 4 loves change. 4 loves stable, right? Stable and change don't always go hand in hand. However, with the way the energy is going to be unfolding for the month, there is a lot of change. There is a lot of change. So if you don't know which area of your life to focus on right now, focus on your nervous system, focus on your body, focus on how you feel in your body. And I invite you to become familiar with what it takes to regulate your nervous system. What does it take to feel safe in times of change? What does it take to feel safe and secure in times of turmoil and chaos and uncertainty? Because here's one thing I feel like I know for sure at this point. Chaos is a given. Change is a given. There is so much stuff happening on the external that are completely outside of our control. We have no control over it. The only thing we have control over is how we feel in it and how we respond to it. And that all starts with your nervous system. So what are the structures you can put in place to take care of your nervous system? This is critical in the month of May. It's like mandatory. People who know how to do this, they will rise to the top, meaning that they will come out with a relative sense of groundedness, whereas people who don't know how to do this will struggle. And what that means for you as a listener is, I know many of my listeners are skilled healers, skilled coaches, skilled energy workers. You guys have access to tools, whether it be healing tools, emotional regulation tools, coaching tools to help people feel seen, heard, and understood. Numerology is one of my favorite tools in the world for that. I feel like it helps us really get to the truth of who people are so we can love them exactly as they are, rather than seeing the way they are as potentially wrong or faulty, and see the gift in that, right? So as we have this level of awareness, it's so important to integrate this in with the body and have that level of nervous system integration, balance, harmony, whatever that word is for you, but really take care of yourself. Like, that is my prayer for you. Take care of yourself, because in times of change and chaos and turmoil, all you have is you. That's all you have, right? With so much unknown. So opportunity for you, many of you listeners, like, put your gifts out there. If you have the ability to help other people balance their nervous system, share that, market that, sell that, shout that from the rooftops. People need that now more than ever. If you would like to book a session with me, please send me a DM and I would be happy to share the information for you to do so. If you would like to dive into what about your code to really help you feel seen, heard, and understood. And then of course, we can also look at your forecast, which is how the energy will unfold for you over the next 12 months. Okay, let's get into some of the details here that I really want to talk about. Let's see here. Where do I want to go next? Give me a second. Okay, let's go into some of the important dates. So the first thing is, I kind of mentioned that we're going to be inviting in change this month, right? We're going to be inviting in change. And this is so true. So particularly on Wednesday, the first of the month, we're going to be moving through a lot of change energy, which means, asking yourself, like, what kind of change do I want to invite in? Many of us are hungry for change right now. Your community is likely hungry for change, and you have codes that can support them through that change, right? They're in your space because they need whatever it is that you embody, what you have to offer, what you have to share with the world. But most importantly, with change, they don't want to feel flighty. They want to feel grounded. They don't want to feel like it's fly by the seat of their pants. They want to feel like there's a system and a structure that they can rest comfortably in. This kind of speaks back to the nervous system, right? So important. On the 5th of May, there is going to be a massive transformation portal available. It is going to be a huge death and rebirth window that's going to be opening up on May 5th. This is going to be so powerful and so important for us to acknowledge and recognize and work with. So May 5th, if that's a day that you're, that you're working with, what I would really invite you to do is ask yourself, like, what are the areas in my life I want to invite in transformation and change? Where am I inviting in this death, rebirth energy, or this, like, caterpillar, butterfly energy? So really letting yourself invite that energy in on the 5th. And then as we move into the 6th and the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, actually, we move into an abundance activation portal. And this is coming up all year, you guys, that our relationship with money, with wealth, with abundance, with prosperity wants to evolve. It wants to shift. So what does that mean to you? The way you used to define money, abundance, and prosperity, it wants to die. It is literally the deadheads that want to be removed, right? There is fresh buds bursting forth, and they want to be acknowledged and nurtured. So the question I would really ask yourself is, what makes me feel rich and prosperous and abundant? What makes me feel cared for and supported, right? What feels like prosperity and abundance to me? And allow yourself to swap out some of the beliefs that it feels like some of the old energy was very contracted and tense, and a lot of like hanging on tight too. There is a lot of stories that many of us have been, told our childhood or told through our education years that are dying right now. And they want to be cleansed and released. You may want to consider doing like a cord cutting or writing on a piece of paper and burning it, and then taking a minute to actively call in what you choose instead. And to me, what that looks like is a little practice where you simply say, to me, prosperity is, and you fill in the blanks. To me, richness is, fill in the blanks. To me, abundance is, fill in the blanks, and journal about this. Try to fill some pages on it. If you like to read cards, pull cards on it. Go for a walk and contemplate it. Do a drop down meditation, reflecting on it and feeling that sense coming up from the inside out. Work with the crystal like citrine, which is the one I wear around my neck that's coded to help activate abundance and prosperity codes with you. So 6, 7, 8, take time to do that. This is so important. I cannot stress this enough. The next dates I really want to bring to your attention is the 13th of May. There's going to be a karmic money cycle happening that is inviting you to reclaim your power. Reclaim your power. So it's an 8 energy year. And on this day, we're actually going to be in an 8 energy day in this 4 energy month. So there's this sense of power and leadership and strength and the systems that help us support that. And it's also linked to the 6 of diamonds, which is a karmic money rebalancing energy. So again, this prosperity activation or abundance activation that we hit on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, it continues in that it's like, are you letting yourself be a victim to money? Are you letting money bully you? Are you letting the stories around wealth and money, control you? Or are you choosing to be the person in your life that creates your life? Are you choosing to be the person that writes your stories versus like falling into accidentally, unconsciously, these messed up collective agreements that if you had half a mind, you never would have agreed to them in the first place. You fell into it unconsciously. They are coming up to your conscious mind now to be reviewed. I've been referring to these as covert collective agreements. What does that mean? What is a covert agreement? A covert agreement is an agreement you made subconsciously. You didn't realize. You said yes to something, but you didn't realize you did it. You weren't consciously aware that you said yes to it. So these covert collective agreements are agreements that you've been playing into without awareness. Awareness changes everything. Awareness changes everything. So now the awareness is bubbling up of like, wait a second, my definition of abundance is this. My definition of prosperity is this. My definition of how I want my life to look, my business to look is this. And I'm claiming this now, right? And this is what I want to encourage you to do on the 13th, is to take some time to claim it, to claim that energetic space around you. So, so, so important. Okay, where do I want to go to next? On the 15th of the month, we enter a new manifestation cycle that's asking us to create a solid foundation around value and self-worth and what our priorities are. What's important to you? What do you value? What matters to you? What speaks to your heart and soul? What is important to you? And how can you, on this new manifestation cycle, take advantage of this one energy, which is a new start, a fresh beginning, seeds planted, activation, to really anchor in, this is the way it is moving forward. This is what I'm claiming moving forward. And I want you to recognize that when you are correcting these covert collective agreements, it's not necessarily, I'm going to just, put this out there in a way that there's multiple ways you might process that. You might be one of those blessed people who experiences like a quantum leap where it's like you claim it, boom, done, cords cut, line in the sand drawn, and off you go to the races and you never have to look back. And I pray that that's true for you. In my life, I feel like it doesn't typically happen that way. I feel like most of those quantum leaps that appear that way from the outside looking in are actually me making 1,000 small steps and small decisions and redeciding over and over again until it sticks. I think it's a bit more of a like incremental approach. So, and I just want to tell you that both are available to you. So you decide which one's your truth. But the incremental steps, what that means is sometimes you might have evidence come up to cause you to doubt again. And that's okay. It's not, the universe isn't testing you. It's not trying to trip you up to see if you're going to choose wrong and laugh in your face when you fall. That's not how the universe works. Okay. Can we just like correct that misconception? It's an opportunity for you to choose which path you're on again. You know, like when you see a fork in the road, say you're hiking, you know, I love to hike. So there's a fork in the road and it's like, I can follow this path, path A, it's going to lead me here. That's the dominant path, the dominant narrative, all these collective agreements. That's that path. I'm going to take path B. It might be a little less obvious. It might not be as well worn. There might be like some branches I have to climb over. There might not be handrails, right? And there might also be tracks that lead back to path A. It's okay. Some people start out on a path and then course correct. Just because there's a path back to path A doesn't mean you have to take it. You get to choose again. So every time the doubt creeps in, the uncertainty creeps in, it's not punishing you. It's not telling you you're wrong. It's just giving you the chance of you can choose again. What do you choose? Right? You can choose again. What do you choose? So then you just have to say, yeah, this is what I'm choosing. Okie dokie, then off you go. Right? Like, I make it sound so easy. I know it's not so easy, but what if, hear me out, what if we allowed ourselves to treat some of these crazy challenges that we face? Like, I know it's not a joke, but at the same time, can we just treat them with lightness? I know it's not light in it. Like my son this morning had a full-on meltdown over knowing the days of the week. Okay. Like full-on meltdown. Those of you with kids, you can relate. Those of you without kids, you're like, I have no idea why someone would have a meltdown over knowing the days of the week. Well, he did. And in the moment, it was like, we're late for school, trying to get the backpacks loaded. I'm trying to get myself ready. And my son is melting down over the days of the week. And I am like, are you kidding me? I do not have time for this right now. This is not the time. And I'm in it. And I'm like, oh, this is stressful. This is icky. Like, gosh, this is so inconvenient. And then a few minutes later, I'm in the car driving him to school. And I'm like, breathe, Megan. This is actually ridiculous and freaking hilarious. And when you were in it, it was a nightmare. That's true. And now you can also take a second, see it from a higher perspective, and see the ridiculous humor in it. Yep, kids were late for school. Yep, I was late for work. All of that feels stressful, crunchy, and uncomfortable. And I can take a look from a higher perspective and laugh at it. Treat it with a sense of lightness rather than getting sucked into the drama of it all. Right? So I get it. I hear you. I know there's big and little moments like that, but it doesn't have to be that way. Okay. Okay. Where do I want to go next? Let me just have a little sip of my coffee. My favorite hippie coffee. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, send me a DM and I'll send you the recipe. It's my own homemade concoction of all the herbs and mushrooms and all the things to make you feel amazing, even though you still get your little coffee fix. Okay. On the 19th of the month, we're still midway through that manifestation cycle I mentioned on the 15th, right? Because it starts with the 1 and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 19th, we hit the 5 energy. 5 is the midway point. 5 is the point of change. 5 is inviting you in to do things differently, right? It's that reminder again of like, you chose this path, you chose to do things differently. Let yourself do that. Let yourself embody that. Like that is so beautiful and so powerful and so exciting. And because it's also coming in with this energy of thought leadership, you might ask yourself questions of like, do I even know what the hell I'm doing? Like other people know more than me. Can I allow myself to like even think I know what I'm doing? Let me let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue what they're doing. They're basing their decisions on their lens, looking through at the world through their codes, as they should. It's what we all should do, and their experiences. And then they're making their decisions and they're making their actions based on that. And so people who look clear and certain and confident, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Who am I to say? But let me tell you that they are operating on a story that's clearly working for them. And because it's working for them, they continue to find evidence that it is true. So you can do that too. You can choose a story that's going to work for you and operate on it as if it were true. And like, what if you gave yourself permission to make it like a 90-day experiment, right? Like a 90-day experiment where you're just like, you know what? Here's the principles I'm going to live my life by. Here's the new stories that are true for me. And I encourage you to look back at what you talked about when you said prosperity is, abundance is. Like, look at those stories. I'm going to take 90 days and operate as if these are true. And let me see what happens next to my life. Give yourself that 90-day window. Like, you owe yourself the chance to rewrite some of these bullshit stories. Like, you owe yourself that chance, right? So let yourself have that. And then on the 20th is a very powerful download day. So I highly encourage you to journal, hike, meditate, play with your intuitive and divination tools, do a numerology reading, do some energy work, whatever it is that you do to access spirit, your guides, your intuition, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, for those downloads to come through. It is incredibly, incredibly auspicious on the 20th to do that. On the 23rd is a cleanse and release day. I mentioned earlier in this call that we go through this iterative process, right? This iterative process where it's like you make a decision, play it out for a minute, make another decision, play it out for a minute. You get the chance to decide again and again and again. Well, if you took my invitation to start this experiment of like, what if I just operated as if these narratives that I'm choosing were true, right? Forget the covert collective agreements. I'm choosing this narrative as my truth. Okay. On the 23rd of the month, you have the opportunity to cleanse, detox, and release some of the old sticky, dead weight energy that does not want to come with you anymore. It's an incredibly powerful cleansing day. So I highly recommend to you on the 23rd, do not overbook your schedule. Do not overwork yourself that day. Pause, go inwards, take a bath, do some yoga if that's your thing, go and lean with your back up against a tree or sit in your garden, drink some detox tea, have an Epsom salt bath, do some burning and releasing, do a cleansing ritual around your house, even just taking a moment to sweep the floors, and allow yourself to allow some of that dead weight to be left, to be removed, to be swept out of your life, because it is a chance to really cleanse. And I really want you to take that to heart. And then finally, the last date I want to bring to mind is we actually end this month on an 8 energy day, which of course, is 2024 is an 8 energy year. So this is all about stepping into our power, being confident, committing to abundance on our terms, wealth, prosperity on our terms, owning our power, allowing ourselves to embody a sense of strength from the inside out, right? So, and there's also this energy of activating a new mindset. So this whole month is really preparing you to embody the type of leader that you choose for yourself in your life, to lead your own life how you want, according to the stories that make sense to you, according to the belief systems that make sense to you, and allow that to ripple out from there. One of the principles that I live my life by, and is a principle of the abundance economy, which is some training I'll be sharing about very soon, is the first principle is everything gets created twice. Yes, even in your business. First, it gets created on the imaginary realm or the energetic plane, right? Which means you think about it, you dream about it, you imagine it, you can see it in your mind's eye. Then it gets created on the physical plane, right? In the 4-dimensional physical reality that we live in. So in order to have these thoughts, to build your business and your life, the way you would like, it requires that you allow a certain level of embodiment to occur so that these thoughts are safe and natural. Your nervous system is grounded to feel that way, and you've set your environment up in such a way that this is normal. This is just the way you live and just the way you think. And here's the thing, thoughts become things. That's just the way it is, right? So if you can start to let this opportunity of this month really support the embodiment of that level of leadership so that these mindsets become more and more natural, more and more dominant, your embodiment is going to up level, which means your thoughts are going to up level, which means the physical dimension, the 4D reality that you live in, is going to reflect that. And, it takes time. I'm not going to say it happens overnight. I'm available for that magical miracle to occur, but it does take time. And that's okay, because what else do we even have besides time, right? That is the one thing we have, is time. So yeah, I feel like that's pretty much complete. It was a little longer than I typically share for the forecast, but apparently I had a lot to say about this 4 energy month. And I'd love to hear from you. What were the pieces that stuck for you? What were your takeaways? What were your insights? What did you most want and need to hear? What landed? Let me know, share with me. And if you're listening to this on my podcast, send me a little DM and let me know. And I also want to let you guys know a couple of things I have coming up. Number one, I mentioned this already. If you would like a numerology reading, my books are open for readings right now, which doesn't happen very often. So if you're interested in one, now is a great time to do that. The second thing I want to let you know is I'm going to be releasing a bunch of content over the abundance economy, a new paradigm in business. And this is a piece I've been talking about for years. And I have not necessarily activated a training on. I just talk about it in my forecasts and in my social media and things like that. Well, there is some training coming up. There's going to be a bunch of content coming out. So make sure you're subscribed to my email. And if you're not, I will send me a note so I can make sure that you are. Make sure you keep an eye on my socials, because I've got some reels coming on it that are fun. And I'll be sharing content on that as well. And I'm going to be having some classes coming up, as well as some podcast episodes. So basically, if we hang out anywhere, this is something you will hear about. And I'm really excited to share it because, this whole idea of the things we think about, we bring about, or thoughts become things, and the narratives we subscribe to are so important right now that I want to present to you narratives around the abundance economy that you can choose to subscribe to if you want. Many people, when they hear that term, they feel it and they're like, yeah, I want that to be true for me, but I don't know how. It feels like a nebulous concept. It feels like out of reach for me. It's not. It's practical, tangible, and grounded. And this is where my expertise as both an economist and a numerologist come in, because understanding the energetics is paramount, but also understanding the way economics works is paramount. And I'm going to bring these two together to share the abundance economy with you. So if this is something that you are intrigued about and you would like to learn more about, drop me a little DM and let me know. And, this girl over here, she likes the words of affirmation. She likes to hear that the things I'm sharing with you are making a difference and you want them. They matter. They're impactful. And so I'd love to hear from you. And let me know, as you're wrapping up this call, let me know, what's the number one thing you're taking away from this May energy forecast? The number one thing that really hit that you needed to hear? Let me know, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so, so much, and we'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye, everyone.